because the Jaguars, of course, fired Urban Meyer, are allowed to put in requests and interview via Zoom coaches who are under employment from other teams, perhaps potentially coordinators.
I can't believe I'm saying this because right when you think the Jacksonville Jaguars solved all of their problems by firing Urban Meyer, they go out and do something to make the entire fan base cringe in fear because the future is beginning to look very bleak after this information we got straight from Ian Rappaport, probably our most reputable source. Now, before we get to the content, just a reminder, we're giving away $500 to a subscriber that turns on our notifications on this channel. And in addition to that, we're giving away $500 to someone that follows us on Instagram. We also just dropped Cut the Cap merchandise on microphone.org. And now that we got all that out of the way, break! This sponsor is literally going to pay you just to scan receipts. I'm serious. Introducing Fetch Rewards, an application on your phone that gives you points for every single time you scan a digital receipt or a physical receipt. For example, let's say you go out to a restaurant with some buddies, you end up picking up the bill. If you take a picture of your receipt and upload it to Fetch Rewards, you're going to get rewarded with some points. With those points, you can redeem gift cards or other prizes, or in my case, I just donated to charity. And it's a really cool way to get a little extra for something that you were going to do anyways. And currently, if you use my promo code Mikerophone, you'll get an additional 3,000 bonus points on your very first receipt. I personally think it's really fun. I do it. My brothers and sisters usually like fight over the receipt every single time we go out to eat. So make sure you use my promo code Mikerophone for an additional 3,000 points when you scan your first receipt. And thank you, Fetch Rewards, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? This past offseason was an absolute roller coaster of emotions for the Jacksonville Jaguars, starting from probably the high point of the entire offseason where the Jacksonville Jaguars drafted Trevor Lawrence, which was a no-brainer type of move. Any general manager would have made this move, but the next draft pick was the draft pick that would indicate where the Jacksonville Jaguars were trending. Were they going to make a decision to make Trevor Lawrence a little bit more comfortable in his first season in the NFL? Were they going to invest that draft pick on the defensive end, which hasn't really been the greatest ever since the Saxonville era? Or were they going to just throw away the pick on a luxury player that wasn't necessarily at the top of their needs, but hey, it's a sexy pick? And ultimately, that's what they ended up doing. With their second first-round pick in the NFL draft last year, they drafted Travis Etienne. Look, I'm gonna say this over and over again, I don't have any beef against Travis Etienne. For all you know, the guy could be the next coming of Adrian Peterson. Most probably not, but he could be. My issue was selecting Travis Etienne despite having James Robinson on your team, which unfortunately tore his Achilles this past week. And this one tiny horrible decision became something that was all too familiar for me. I mean, as a guy that's been an NFL fan for the past 2 decades, if there's one man that I am extremely familiar with, it's Mr. Trent Baalke, the general manager that Shad Khan decided to hire very shortly after hiring Urban Meyer. Don't get it twisted, Trent Baalke didn't hire Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer was hired, and then Trent Baalke came in as well. And for the life of me, I never was able to figure out why. He isn't necessarily known for being one of the greatest general managers in NFL history. He's known for hitting on some picks, but kind of hitting on those picks. I mean, he drafted Aldon Smith and Colin Kaepernick, but at the same time, he drafted Tank Carradine and Marcus Lattimore. But in addition to that, he drafted Arik Armstead and DeForest Buckner. But if you look at this entire chart, you could see that Trent Baalke, for the most part, would miss on his picks more than he would hit on his picks. And the fact that him and Jim Harbaugh didn't really agree with each other during their time with the San Francisco 49ers, at least towards the end of that time, eventually resulted in Jim Harbaugh deciding to go back to the NCAA. Now, obviously, there could have been other factors at play. Harbaugh could have seen the writing on the wall and decided, hey, this is the best time to cash in and go back to college. Maybe Michigan just made too too good of an offer for Harbaugh. There's so many factors at play. That's just one of the very many. But also bear in mind, this is the same general manager that decided trading for Blaine Gabbert was the solution for all of their problems back in 2014. And when the Jacksonville Jaguars decided, hey, we're gonna fire Urban Meyer, enough is enough. And bear in mind, this was a very long and drawn out process that shouldn't have taken this long. Shad Khan really took his sweet time with deciding to fire Urban Meyer. He really wanted to make sure that Urban Meyer was a bad coach. After 4 games into the regular season, seeing Urban Meyer literally grind on a woman that's half his age and not his wife wasn't enough for him. Seeing his assistant coaches consistently complain about him wasn't enough for him. Seeing Trevor Lawrence literally look like the biggest draft bust that we've seen in recent memory when he really shouldn't have been looking like that wasn't enough for him. At the end, it was this one incident where Josh Lambo came out and cited that Urban Meyer came out and kicked him because he failed to make his kicks in the preseason. And that's the straw that broke the camel's back for Shad Khan. So ultimately, you'd think, okay, you got Urban Meyer out. So far, we already know that there are some good head coaching candidates that the Jacksonville Jaguars might eventually interview. My favorite one being Byron Leftwich, because Byron Leftwich was their quarterback in the mid-2000s. I think that'd be a really cool story. He's currently the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I'm gonna be honest, my one concern about Byron Leftwich is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense is very much, at least in my opinion, has been very much predicated on the fact that Tom Brady came from New England and said, okay, this pseudo West Coast offense that revolves around me dinking and dunking my way down the field, which is very freaking effective, don't get me wrong, is what we're gonna install here. Bear in mind that Bruce Arians had his own offense that he liked to run before Tom Brady that didn't really use pre-snap motion at all whatsoever, and Tom Brady came in and said, listen, we're gonna run my offense because that's gonna be what wins us Super Bowls, and rightfully so. So a part of me is kind of questioning how capable Byron Leftwich is in regards to an offensive coordinator, but at the very least, he will be able to relate to his players, and he has significant experience working underneath Bruce Arians and working with a plethora of very good quarterbacks, such as Carson Palmer and Jameis Winston, and of course, Tom Brady. Another head coaching candidate that's very popular is Doug Peterson, which I still feel like the wound is too fresh why Doug Peterson was fired. He was a little bit overly aggressive in his play calling. A part of that could have been because of Carson Wentz. Eagles fans think it's more Doug Peterson's fault. I personally think he shouldn't have never been fired. I think if a coach wins you a Super Bowl, you should give him more time to figure it out and not be so impulsive as to fire the head coach. But my favorite option in this situation would have to be Jim Caldwell. Jim Caldwell worked with the likes of Peyton Manning. Jim Caldwell worked with the likes of Matthew Stafford. He actually is the most successful Detroit Lions head coach of the past like 15 years, him and Jim Schwartz. And I think that's your best overall option for developing Trevor Lawrence. So what's the problem? Well, according to Ian Rappaport tweeted out this video saying that the Jaguars head coaching search kicks into high gear with GM Trent Baalke to be retained and assist owner Shad Khan. Plus the status of 49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo is now in doubt with a torn ligament in his throwing thumb. Yeah, you read that correctly. General manager Trent Baalke will be retained. He doubles down on this, saying that GM Trent Baalke will be retained and will be involved with owner Shad Khan in the search for a brand new head coach. Baalke will continue to report to Khan and work in sync with the new head coach, who will also have a direct reporting line to Khan. Look, I get it. Shad Khan doesn't want to come off as an impulsive owner. He doesn't want to fire Trent Baalke after one season. I understand, but to be honest, based off the sample size we've seen so far, I don't think Trent Baalke is necessarily the greatest general manager for this team. Maybe I'm just too irked by his draft history. Maybe I'm too irked by the way he constructed the mid-2010 San Francisco 49ers, but just based off of that one example that I gave you of him burning a first-round draft pick on Travis Etienne when he could have drafted Brett Coleman's favorite offensive lineman, Tevin Jenkins, which I don't know if I have a love crush on Tevin Jenkins because of Brett or if it would have just made more sense there. Or hell, selecting a wide receiver at that position. I don't care what position you select, so long as it's not a running back that is going to back up your existing 1,000-yard rushing running back in James Robinson the year prior. Now that James Robinson tore his Achilles, yeah, I guess it looks like a decent move in hindsight. I understand that Trevor Lawrence and him both went to Clemson together and it makes a lot of sense for them to play together, but personally, I feel like this this was a great opportunity, an absolutely remarkable opportunity to have a transformation very similar to the one that the Buffalo Bills had. If you recall, in January of 2017, the Buffalo Bills went towards a complete overhaul where they brought in general manager Brandon Beane and head coach Sean McDermott. They were kind of like a duo. They worked in sync with each other, and I absolutely loved that pairing. I think that would have been a perfect opportunity for the Jags to move on from Trent Baalke and bring in a brand new general manager, because the Jacksonville Jaguars are a gold mine. I mean, they have the #1 overall pick in this year's NFL draft potentially. They have a ton of cap space. There's a lot of good free agent wide receivers that they could take a flyer on. So it's just a shame. I would have liked to see Trent Baalke get fired as well, but hopefully, I guess after another offseason where they have a #1 overall pick, things get better for them. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this. What do you think about the Jags' decision to retain Trent Baalke? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.